squares, regions, rivers, languages, and by linking them, we overcome borders to generate shared, transversal and transformative knowledge. Our 10 universities seek fertile, visionary and innovative excellence in higher education and research to change the present, crafting a better future. All these concepts are great, but wait until you hear the numbers. Almost 300,000 students, 23,700 academic staff, 17,800 support staff, 874 research groups, 139 faculties connected through 200 communities of all kinds, PhD co-tutels, science and innovation fellowships, Young Leaders Academy, connected communities. And it's only the beginning. We told you it sounded good. By correlating institutions, academics, researchers and students from 10 countries, we strengthen the European knowledge framework while reinforcing Europe's links with the world. Because together, we reaffirm and reinvent a European unity with all its differences, every day. At EUTOPIA, we connect today's academic communities to create the future together and bring on bold and enterprising generations of European citizens. At EUTOPIA, we are changing European higher education.
Dear all, good afternoon.
My name is Silvia Teixeira.
I'm José Alberto Catalão, and welcome to the EUTOPIA Week in our charming city of Lisbon.
Before we delve into the agenda, we would like to take a moment to emphasize the significance of this alliance. EUTOPIA represents a joint effort of 10 universities and 4 global partners that have come together to promote collaboration, share knowledge, and address some of the most pressing local, regional, and global challenges in today's society. Today we gather here to exchange ideas, learn from each other's perspectives, and explore avenues for further collaboration in education, research, and community engagement. Transformation is our common purpose. Inclusion is our core value.
Thank you once again for being here, and let us make the most of this EUTOPIA Week, which Nova University of Lisbon is so proud to host for the first time. So, let's start the ceremony. Dear Rector, Professor João Saagua, the floor is all yours.
Dear colleagues, esteemed guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to everybody. For those who come from abroad, many thanks for having traveled to be here today. A special mention to all EUTOPIA and group rectors, and most especially to the 3 new EUTOPIA rectors. Malin Broberg from University of Gothenburg, Laia de Nadal from Pompeu Fabra University, and Laurent Gatignot from Cergy Paris University. Also, I'm very happy and proud to say that the Secretary of State for Higher Education, Professor Pedro Teixeira, is here representing the Portuguese government. Greetings on that. You are always very welcome to Nova University. And the same goes for Sofia Moreira de Sousa, Chief Representative of the European Commission in Portugal. It is a great joy to have you all here and to host the 7th edition of EUTOPIA Week, this time around in Lisbon. A joy that is magnified by the fact that we are hosting the first EUTOPIA Week since the launch of the new EUTOPIA More project. It is the first EUTOPIA Week being hosted by one of the new partners of the Alliance, and importantly for us, it is happening in a very special year for Nova University, the year that marks our 5th anniversary. Just like the title of Dickens' acclaimed book, it is, we all believe, I have great expectations for this week. It is, of course, also a great responsibility for Nova, but thanks to the tireless work of all the staff involved in the planning and in the organization of this event, I'm confident that we will deliver. Please allow me a personal note of gratitude to all of them. Thanks. It is a week packed with initiatives and filled with good opportunities for the Alliance to grow. Many work meetings, social gatherings, and cultural activities are planned, and they will include members from the academic communities of all our universities. This edition theme is For a Better Europe. Our continent, so rich in history and diverse cultures, has long been a symbol of knowledge, progress, democracy, and human rights. Yet, as we all know so well, it is not immune to the challenges and the uncertainties that lie ahead. Moreover, in this context, the European Commission has defined 6 priorities for which universities and citizens at large will play an essential role. The first priority is European Green Deal, aimed at achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. The second priority is a Europe fit for the digital age. This goes from citizens' digital literacy to cybersecurity, to human artificial intelligence, to the transformation of work and businesses. The third priority focuses on promoting an economy that works for people, and it's about allowing different European economies to grow while reducing poverty and inequality. The fourth priority is to promote a stronger Europe in the world that entails multiculturalism, multilateralism, rule-based global order, and a strong role for European Union in the world. The fifth priority is to promote a European way of life, tackling the quality of the public space, the rule of law, and European values. Lastly, the sixth priority is to provide a new push for European democracy. This means renewing the political and social democratic agendas and effectively rebutting populism in its many faces. Our challenge as European universities is, I dare to say, to embrace all these priorities and embed them in our mission and correspondent activities in order for the universities to become true catalysts for positive change, providing the next generations in society at large with the knowledge, skills, and innovation they need to tackle the challenges of our life. How can universities do that? Don't worry, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm just going to say that this is exactly the topic of the public session that follows this opening ceremony, and that includes all universities members of EUTOPIA and many other Portuguese universities. My gratitude to all directors for being available to engage in that roundtable. And, of course, many thanks to those in the audience that will also participate with their positions, comments, and questions. Importantly, as a European alliance, EUTOPIA must also be able to address these priorities together as an alliance. thus assuring that we are united in using our knowledge, networks, and impact potential for the common purpose of creating a more inclusive, sustainable, and prosperous Europe. That we, together, can shape a future that our children and the next generation will be proud to inherit. That we, together, can and will do more, as it is the well-coined name of our second bid, Utopia, more. How are we supposed to do that? How can we use the purpose and impetus and ideas that some of us already share and drill them down into our universities? How can we take advantage of the common initiatives that we already have and create synergies, joint missions, and in 7 or 10 years produce a European meta-university that organically include 10 campuses strategically scattered in the European EU region, each campus belonging to a different university, having its own history, identity, and full autonomy. This is, in a nutshell, the biggest challenge that I think we have now on our plate. It is really a fantastic task for each of the 10 universities and for us as a team. I propose that while facing this fantastic task, we act according to the famous Mark Twain quote, "They didn't know it was impossible, so they did it." Welcome to Utopia Week in Lisbon. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor João Saagua. Now we invite to the stage the chair of Utopia and rector of Ca' Foscari University of Nice, Professor Tiziana Lipiello. Please join the stage.
Dear authorities, colleagues, students, friends of Utopia, João, it is my great pleasure to inaugurate in the splendid venue of this city, the city of Lisbon, the 7th Utopia Week. And I wish to thank Rector João Saagua, his team, and all Nova University for organizing and hosting us. Dear presidents, dear rectors, allow me to give a special and warm welcome to the new rectors and presidents whom we didn't see in person so far. Laia de Nadal, rector of Pompeu Fabra University Barcelona, welcome. Laurent Gatineux, president of CYU Paris, and Malin Broberg, incoming vice chancellor of the University of Gothenburg. This event is extraordinary in its impact on all of us, meeting face to face, feeling part of an outstanding and vibrant academic community, and recognizing that together we are able of effecting significant changes in the future of Europe. Our mission is to create an open and inclusive academic platform that facilitates connections among all our communities. Connectedness, cohesion, solidarity, mutual understanding are the most appropriate approach to confront the challenges of the contemporary world, particularly in the face of climate change, the war in Ukraine and elsewhere, and the global consequences. During its initial phase, Utopia focused on testing models to enhance collaborations among our universities. We initiated a process of building some best practices in all areas, trying to overcome the barriers to closer partnership among our institutions. This is not an easy task, especially due to the different legal systems of our countries. Next step was to invite international partners to join us in our efforts to build a supernatural university and share our European values with them. I am delighted to welcome them in Lisbon today. At the launch of EUTOPIA More, we were lucky to receive the support of some prestigious institutions as associate partners. I would like to express my sincere gratitude and hope for future collaboration to you. This current phase of EUTOPIA is founded on a strategy that may appear paradoxical at first glance, but is fundamentally coherent, combining high intellectual and scientific standards with an inclusive approach, striving to be globally competitive while fostering deeper collaboration with our partners in other continents. We all share the European research area, which highlights the importance to create an environment where the outcomes of research are understood. Also, being European means taking an approach of international cooperation beyond the intra-European cooperation we work on daily. Our global partners and associate partners are all the more important to us because it is with them that we will be able to implement some of EUTOPIA's key themes. I am referring to research and innovation, as well as to the development of scientific diplomacy that serves not only Europe, but also society worldwide. We are committed to co-develop innovation, plans and instruments with organizations and companies linked to our regions, but also to the world. We believe that universities play a crucial role in the transition from local to global. Working together at European and extra-European level gives us the awareness of our limits and possible ways of cooperation. The European University is a transformative experience. In these years, we have come to the idea that we need to build EUTOPIA from the bottom up by relying on the driving forces within our communities and strengthening our sense of togetherness. This is how our connected learning communities, now connected communities, came into being. This is what EUTOPIA is about. We firmly believe that we can build a better society. I'm confident in the ability of our EUTOPIA universities to achieve our 10-year objectives, which are organizing our joint educational activities within a EUTOPIA college and bringing together our research and innovation efforts on a global institute, the EUTOPIA Global Institute. Before concluding, I would like to make an announcement to all of you. For the first time this September, EUTOPIA will organize a ceremony for the opening of the academic year. Jan just told me probably, very probably. The opening of academic year 23-24 will be in Brussels on September 29th at the European Parliament. It is an initiative promoted by the Vrije Universiteit of Brussels, and I would like to thank the rector, Jan Dankert, and his team. So, allow me to conclude with a few words about all of you. I'm moved to see so many faces, by the resonance of so many different languages, and by the combination of distinct yet relevant cultural perspectives in our conversations. EUTOPIA is first and foremost sympathy, diversity, empathy, and friendship. Allow me to thank all the colleagues, presidents, vice presidents, project managers, deans, professors, and all the staff members who believe in this project and work for its fulfillment every day. A special thanks goes to our Secretary General, Mattia Bellotti. Thanks to our students and to the young researchers. I hope that you might become more and more utopians by building bridges and developing your European career without any barrier. Thank you very much for your attention and enjoy the Utopia Week.
Thank you very much, dear Rector Tiziana Lipiello. Our next guest is the Secretary General of Utopia, Mattia Bellotti. Please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Dear Utopians, thank you. It's such a great pleasure for me to be here today to kickstart this 7th Utopia Week, which of course is the first Utopia Week for me, being the new Secretary General only since March of this year. But most importantly, as we also said, is the first Utopia Week of one of our new partners of our alliance. And I really believe that this Utopia Week will be a breath of fresh air for all our alliance. So I'm really happy to be here in Lisbon today. Our chair, Tiziana Lipiello, already explained what is our long-term vision, how we are, where we are trying to be in a 10 years' time. What I would like to tell you today is the steps that we took in the previous months to slowly getting closer to our objectives. So basically, I would like to provide you an update since the last time most of you have met, which was in Ljubljana at the end of the last year. First of all, and this is also why I'm here, let me remind you that we have established a new central office of our alliance, a central office which is in Brussels, closer to the European institution, at the Vrije Universiteit of Brussels, one of our partners. At the moment, I'm the only person in the central office, but we are trying to grow, and we will have a small team that will help us coordinating all the activities of our alliance. As we were saying, we are a bottom-up alliance in which we have a lot of initiatives coming from our own universities. We hope that with the central office, we will be able to coordinate all these activities and to make sure that everyone is updated on what we are doing and aligned on the vision of the alliance. The central office will also be the place to connect to the Impact and Dissemination Unit, which is based at another partner, Cergy-Pontoise University, and to the new Business Intelligence Unit, which is a unit that we are establishing these days and will be here at Nova and at Gothenburg University. I really believe that with this unit, we will be able to capture data about our universities, about our collaboration, and really understand how much we are competitive compared to the other alliances, and also what are the strengths of each of our own institutions. What I would also like to highlight are the steps that we took in the past months to get closer to our objective. As you know, we kick-started a new project, Utopia More, but at the same time, many of the people here in the room have been also very busy with the reporting of the previous project, Utopia 2050. Despite that, we managed to kick-start the project and launch a series of initiatives which will contribute to the future of our alliance. At the same time, in parallel, we also continued some of the other projects on which the alliance is working. For example, Utopia Train, Utopia SIF, and Utopia Flex. Let me just remind you some of the highlights of the previous 6 months. First of all, we launched and we closed a call for the Research and Mobility Program, a call which we will aim to facilitate the mobility between researchers in our own universities, and hopefully new collaboration of research in future. At the same time, Utopia has also joined one of the projects from the European Commission for a European degree label. This project is called EdLab, and it involves several of the universities from Central Europe and South of Europe in our alliance. We also launched and closed other important calls. One of these was the call for Science and Innovation Fellowship. The call already closed, and we are evaluating these days the result of the applications. I would really like to highlight that after this call, we will have 50 fellows at postdoctoral level around our own institution. And again, I guess this is a great achievement for our alliance. At the same time, we also launched 2 other calls. One is the call for the Young Leaders Academy. The call will actually close during this week. And we really hope that with this call, we will be able to support with dedicated training programs the future leaders of our own institution, of our own 10 universities, and at the same time, also the future ambassador of our alliance in the institutions, but also in general at national, at European level. So I'm really looking forward to meet the new young leaders that will be selected from next academic year. Last but not least, we also had a call from connected communities. As we said earlier, for the first time, these communities will tackle both education and research. And again, this is really something that is happening for the first time in our alliance. For the first time, this call, as well as the call for the young leaders, was open to global partners. It's really important that we are opening this initiative, and in future, we want to step up to other initiatives, to the contribution of global partners. We have to remember that as European, we are really proud of our values and our cultures, but we still have to learn a lot from people and from institutions outside of Europe. So again, I'm really happy to have at least 3 of the 4 global partners here present today at this event, and they will be present and join all our meetings during the week. Really welcome again to our global partners. At the same time, we not only have global partners here today, but we also have, as we said before, associate partner, meaning organizations from the public or from the private sector that will help us to grow together. It is absolutely true that we still have a lot of avenues of collaboration within our own institutions, and we should try to strengthen and increase the collaboration within our own institutions. But at the same time, we also have to start to looking around, looking together, and having collaboration also with external stakeholders, either at municipality level, at national level, or even at European level, to really strengthen our activities and get connected to the communities of our university. So I'm really happy that also today we have some of the associated partners here present today. I'm really looking to work together with you. Last but not least, I would like to remind you before closing my speech what we are trying to do with our alliance. We are trying to transform our university, a transformation which should cover the full mission of our university: education, research, innovation, and even outreach to the external world. This is a transformation which will come with issues, with problems, with challenges, with a lot of barriers, with a lot of skepticism from people within our own institutions and with the other other institutions from our alliance. I really believe that the people here in this room have been doing their best, and they've been always faced these challenges with a positive attitude. I really hope that this will be possible even in future. Because please remember always that there will be no transformation without challenges. So thanks a lot, and I really would like to wish you a great week during this time in Lisbon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General Mattia Bellotti. Now it's time to welcome Pedro Teixeira, the Portuguese Secretary of State for Higher Education, on behalf of the Minister Elvira Fortunato.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, let me start by thanking the Rector for the invitation, and of course, a warm greetings to all the rectors, the Portuguese rectors, also the rectors and presidents of EUTOPIA members, dear vice-rectors, pro-rectors, dear colleagues, dear members of staff, dear students, dear guests. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. But we are among colleagues, so I think you will be more tolerant with me. Well, the first thing would be to share a warm word of encouragement and congratulations from the Minister. She's unable to be here, but, well, she's a distinguished professor of this university, and of course, she's very enthusiastic about all the achievements that Nova University and in particular EUTOPIA network is been developing. So that would be the first thing that I would like to share with you. But I will be brief, and I promise I'll be brief in a normal person's sense, not in an academic sense. As I would normally say to my students, be wary if a professor says that he or she will be brief. But I'll try, but there are a few things that I would like to share with you in this special occasion. I think if we could do the exercise of thinking how different our institutions were at the beginning of the internationalization process, I think in some ways we would be shocked. I mean, internationalization has become so part of our institutions that I think it would be very difficult nowadays to imagine higher education without internationalization. But really, internationalization has been a transformative force for many of our institutions. Certainly in the case of Portugal, it really has changed the landscape. It has changed the way we do things. It has changed in education, in research, in our relationship with society. It has made us much more demanding. It has certainly made our students much more demanding, because they would go abroad, they would come back and they would say, why do we do things in this way, and why we don't have this? Because I've been in another institution in Europe and this works much better. Fortunately, in some cases, you would say, actually, our university functions much better in this and that dimension. So part of the experience was also very positive in that dimension. And I think we have achieved a lot in the last 30, 35 years. But I think we're really, as the rector, João Sago, was saying, there are these great expectations, there is this great ambition regarding internationalization nowadays, because I think we are in a new stage of internationalization. We're not anymore on this stage where we're discussing internationalization on the basis how many memorandums of agreement we have, how many mobility agreements we have, how many international students or mobility students we have. I think we are in a different stage where we look much more about the depth of what we do, the coherence of what we do between, for instance, how do we pursue internationalization in education and how do we pursue internationalization in research? How can we bring together these two dimensions? But also another dimension that quite often is much less present in our debates internally, how do we link these two main missions that we pursue as universities with the relationship with society? And quite often this is largely forgotten, although, as we know, international students, when they apply to a specific university, they are not thinking only about the quality of the education they will be provided, but they are thinking about the opportunities afterwards. What kind of employment or career opportunities will they facing afterwards? When we want to promote our institutions, increasingly, we need to show what kind of engagement we have with society. And I use the word explicitly engagement because we're not focusing only in the relationship with companies, which of course is very important to many of our students, but also what kind of civic and social engagement we have. And I emphasize this also because I think for EUTOPIA, this is a particularly important dimension. And this means that we need to think as institutions and to think as a system in a different way regarding internationalization. It means that we not only have to know what we want to do, but also what we don't want to do, or we are not able to do. We need to be more selective, and we need to define our priorities regarding internationalization. It's not only a matter of just adding layers of activities and process and events, but to see how these adds significant value and coherence to what we do in many dimensions of our activities and missions. And this means also having sometimes a difficult discussion. I've been a vice rector in my previous life, so I share some of your troubles and anguishes. But one of the difficult discussions that I think we need to have, and in many ways we are having already inside our institutions, is that we know that in internationalization, like in other dimensions, there is quite often a bottom-up dynamic. So quite often many of our collaborations have started because one of our colleagues, a group of research has started collaborating with another institution, and this has evolved and transformed into a much more institutional collaboration. But this means having a discussion internally about the different priorities and what we want to strengthen in our internationalization, and what are the dimensions that are less important to us. Which partners are more important, with whom we want to go deeper, to have stronger ties, and that means have a differentiated approach regarding internationalization. And as I suspect all directors present will agree, this kind of discussion is inevitably difficult because there are different understandings of internationalization within our institutions. For some in law, there will be a different understanding about our colleagues in science and technology. For the students and for the staff and for the academics, it's not necessarily the same thing. But if we want to go to this new stage where we want to achieve deeper and more meaningful process of internationalization, it means that I think we have to have a much more coherent strategy. And that's why we have such great expectations regarding this initiative of the European universities, because it really goes along this path. By bringing together groups of university, these clusters will not be just another activity of internationalization. This will have, if it is to be successful, a transformative dimension about what these institutions will be. And as the people in charge of the network were explaining just before, your vision means having probably a unique institution, in the sense a confederation of universities that has much more stronger ties than exist nowadays. And I think that will take us to a very different experience, to a very different reality than we have now. We know that will not be an easy path, but I think the contribution that this will provide to our institutions, to our systems, and I think, I dare say, to Europe, will be very, very significant. So thank you very much for what you have achieved, but especially very good luck for what you're promising to achieve, because this will be extremely important for our education, not only in each of our countries, but certainly in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Secretary of State, Pedro Teixeira. Let us now enjoy the solemnity of the moment to award medals to former EUTOPIA rectors who have left their posts. Please join us for a big round of applause to Eva Widberg, Rector of Gothenburg.
Okay, this is a special moment for me. Thank you, Tiziana, dear friend, and the successor as president of EUTOPIA. For me, being the rector of the University of Gothenburg has been a pleasure, and I will end my term on the 30th of June, so very soon, and I will give over to my successor then, Professor Malin Broberg. Could you please stand up so that people can see you? And you don't know how many we are here, 3 rectors. Pam Fredman, who is in our advisory group board. She's my predecessor. So we are 3 here today, and I think it's a sign how this goes on, because you don't own the university, you lend it for some years, and you try to do the best. And for me, EUTOPIA will go on forever. Once a utopian, always a utopian. So I have a lot of friends. And I will be here somehow. And good luck to all my rector colleagues. I hope that I can be present and be of help somehow. Just use me. I will be working like an ant. Okay, thanks. And thank you.
Thank you, Eva, for all your commitment, passions, and work for Utopia as president. Thank you so much.
We would also like to take the opportunity to present diplomas to vice rectors who are no longer in office. Please, let's give another round of applause to Antonio Luma from Propeu Fraba and Torbjörn Lund from Gothenburg.
Thank you very much.
Okay, just a speech.
Thank you. I prepared this for a long time, and I will say a few words. So Utopia has meant very much to me. I was already in the March 2019 on the celebration of the handing in on the first application in Brussels, and after that it took really far. You know, it was really got a real high speed and an interesting development since 21, the summer 21, when I became Deputy Vice Chancellor for Eva, and also in charge of the new application, the second application, and that has been really a wonderful thing. I mean, it's hard to and complex to work with one university, but 10 universities, that's a bigger thing. And I'm really happy to have known these, especially the guys here and ladies in the vice president group, and we have had so much fun and been solving so many problems in a very high-spirited way always. I will not leave Utopia, but I will become just an ordinary common worker in the vineyard of complex mathematics. Thank you very much for this time.
So thank you so much. I'm sure you know that I'm not Tony Luna, but I have the great pleasure to succeed him in this job. I hope Tony is seeing us online, so hi Tony, and I will give him this and hope I can fit his shoes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now we would like to present you with a very special artistic moment. Please welcome Carmen Muniz Pereira to the stage.
Now I have my mic turned on. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carmen Muniz Pereira. I'm a former student here at Nova. And I've been asked to sing 2 Fado songs for you. So Fado is our popular song from Lisbon. And I hope you enjoy it. Não sabe ninguém, porque canto fado neste tom magoado de dor e de pranto, e neste tormento todo sofrimento. Eu sinto que a alma cá dentro se acalma nos versos que Deus que deu voz ao vento, luz ao firmamento e deu azul às ondas do mar. Foi Deus que me pôs no peito um rosário de penas que vou desfiando e choro a cantar. Fez poeta ao roxinol, pôs no campo o alecrim, deu luto às andorinhas. Ai, e deu-me esta voz a mim. Se canto, não sei o que canto. Um misto de ventura, saudade, ternura e talvez amor. Mas sei que cantando sinto mesmo quando se tem um desgosto e o pranto no rosto nos deixa melhor. Foi Deus que deu luz aos olhos, perfumou as rosas, deu ouro ao sol e prata ao luar. Foi Deus que me pôs no peito um rosário de penas que vou desfiando e choro a cantar. Pôs no campo o alecrim, fez poeta ao roxinol, pôs no luto às andorinhas. Ai, e deu-me esta voz a mim. Ai, e deu esta voz a mim. Obrigada. Thank you very much. And because we are in June, it's our Saints month. I don't know if you have enjoyed our parties in the streets, but well, it's a very fun month for us in Lisbon. So I will sing one popular march. It's called Cheira bem, cheira a Lisboa. It smells well, it smells like Lisbon. Not very deep, but it's festive and we like it. So anyone who knows how to sing it, please do sing with me. And those of you who don't know, but you can listen the first part and then you can join us, okay? Cheira a Lisboa, uma rosa a florir na tapada. Cheira bem, cheira a Lisboa, a fragata que se ergue na proa, a varina que teima em passar. Cheiram bem porque são de Lisboa. Lisboa tem cheiro de flores e de mar. Lisboa já tem sol, mas cheira a lua quando nasce a madrugada sorrateira e o primeiro elétrico da rua faz coro com a chinela da ribeira. Se chove cheira a terra prometida, procissões têm o cheiro a rosmaninho e na tasca da viela mais escondida cheira a iscas com elas e a vinho. The Portuguese sing. Um cavalo numa água furtada, cheira bem, cheira a Lisboa. Uma rosa a florir na tapada, cheira bem, cheira a Lisboa. A fragata que se ergue na proa, a varina que teima em passar, cheiram bem porque são de Lisboa. Lisboa tem cheiro de flores e de mar. Lisboa cheira aos cafés do Rocio, e o fado cheira sempre a solidão. Cheira a castanha assada se está frio, cheira a fruta madura quando é verão. Os lábios têm o cheiro de um sorriso, manjerico tem o cheiro de cantigas. E os rapazes perdem o juízo quando lhes dá o cheirinho a raparigas. Um craveiro numa água furtada, cheira bem, cheira a Lisboa. Uma rosa a florir na tapada, cheira a Lisboa. A fragata que se ergue na proa, a varina que teima em passar, cheiram bem porque são de Lisboa. Lisboa tem cheiro de flores e de mar. In English, la la la, yarana, yarana. Cheira bem, cheira a Lisboa. Yarana, yarana, yarana. Cheira bem, cheira a Lisboa. A fragata que se ergue na proa, a varina que teima em passar, cheiram bem porque são de Lisboa. Lisboa tem cheiro de flores e de mar. Obrigada. Thank you very much. Obrigada.
Oh, what a moment. And last but not least, we would like to announce that a generous donation of a Portuguese Warwick alumnus will fund a total of 5 visiting fellowships between Nova and Warwick. The Fernandes Fellowships were created by Rui Fernandes, who studied economics at Warwick and are now expanded. A round of applause also for this wonderful news.
Don't leave your seats, as we will start immediately the next session dedicated to the role of European universities for a better future.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the EUTOPIA Week in Lisbon. Thank you.
Projeto europeu coordenado pela FCT Nova no valor de 1,6 milhões de euros e conta com 9 parceiros provenientes de 7 países. Os problemas relacionados com a poluição marítima são uma preocupação emergente da humanidade. A Nova responde com projetos para encontrar soluções com impacto nas populações costeiras.
O pescador é o primeiro visado nas consequências que o plástico marinho possa trazer nos ecossistemas marítimos e na influência que tem na reprodução do peixe. O peixe que é capturado no mar de forma selvagem já está contaminado com plástico e nós já o estamos a consumir.
O Capa no Litoral é um projeto europeu, um projeto que visa melhorar as políticas e as práticas de prevenção do lixo marinho, proveniente sobretudo das atividades turísticas, das atividades de recreio, das atividades costeiras. O Capa no Litoral foca-se sobretudo nas questões relacionadas com os plásticos descartáveis, os plásticos de uso único. Os laboratórios da Faculdade de Ciência e Tecnologia e do Centro de Investigação MARE suportam um conjunto alargado de investigações.
Good afternoon, everyone. We would kindly ask you not to leave your seats since we are following directly to our next session, the role of European universities for a better future. So please don't leave your seats.
A política pública, a literacia e a educação.
Combater, limitar o plástico nos mares é fundamental. Não aqueles que nós produzimos localmente, e a Almada tem uma frente marinha fundamental, enorme, vasta, e provavelmente das mais belas do país, mas também relativamente aos lixos que recebemos. O impacto deste projeto e de projetos desta natureza que vêm, de alguma maneira, intensificar ações que já estão a ser feitas, mas que têm que se levar mais longe, é justamente, pelo menos, diminuir drasticamente a produção de lixo que possa ir parar ao mar.
Nós tornamos um caso de estudo do Cap on Litter com as nossas medidas porque acho que ainda não há muitos restaurantes de praia que estão a tomar estas medidas. Eu lembrei-me de pôr no Facebook que quem apanhasse 1 kg de lixo oferecíamos um morrito ou uma bebida. Então, e até teve alguma adesão, as pessoas iam, apanhavam lixo, nós pesávamos, dávamos as bebidas.
Este projeto vai ao encontro da estratégia do município, a estratégia ambiental. Tem 3 grandes objetivos: praia zero resíduos, eventos costeiros zero resíduos e também comunidades costeiras zero resíduos.
Como parceira do projeto Cap on Litter, permite-nos a nós, a associação, sensibilizar os pescadores para os malefícios do plástico que tem no espaço marinho.
I'm sorry, I would ask our multimedia team to load down the sound of the video, and we would kindly ask you to return to your seat so we can proceed with our next session with the rectors from EUTOPIA and rectors from the Portuguese Council of Portuguese Universities Council. So please return to your seats as we are going to go through to start our next session. Thank you very much.
Podemos começar? Hi, good to have you all here. We have just achieved our first challenge. How many different ways do we have to sit 17 people in 17 different chairs? Not an easy exercise. If I remember from combinatorial mathematics, that's a huge number. But we have very bright top leaders from 17 different universities, or 16 actually, because we have Gothenburg twice, and they were very sharp enough to come up with the perfect solution. Of course, we provided some help, right, by giving some insights, but I'm very pleased to be here. In the 2 hours that will follow, we'll be discussing different topics. I'm just waiting for the slides to be projected. I hope you are enjoying the stay here and the beginning of the EUTOPIA week. Have you tried sardines? Not yet. So it's mandatory. Don't leave the week with trying our Portuguese sardines. My name is Pedro Saraiva. I'm the vice rector, one of the vice rectors of the Nova University of Lisbon. And the idea for this session is a little bit to be an appetizer so that you get the feeling and then decide where to discuss in deeper ways in the forthcoming days, as well as an icebreaker to make sure that your neurons start talking with each other and your neurons start talking with the neurons of other people around you. And for that to happen and to handle, I'd say, a rather complex problem, the role of European universities for a better future. I did learn from my very early classes in AI when I was a PhD student at MIT. If you have a very complex problem, what should you do? Decompose the problem, right? Into smaller problems that are easier to address. So that's what we try to do here. Rather than having a single roundtable with 17 outstanding speakers, we decided to find 5 square tables, not round tables, and then ask for each of the square tables to address one specific question out of 5 different questions. So this session is pretty much about that, going through the building blocks where we'll discuss different topics and then try to put together everything in the end and come up with some final conclusions. There will be Q&A as well available, and then we'll wrap up with some final thoughts. For that to happen, we need to make sure that our speakers don't take more time than what is available. That's 3 minutes with some tiny tolerance. But we have here some video referees. So if you exceed this time limit, I'll show the yellow card, right? I don't have a red card, but so I'm sure that I'll rely on your capabilities to keep time under control. That's a little bit also my job. And for the session to be successful, I'd say one of my goals is to assure that nobody falls asleep. So I'm going to see if I can achieve that goal. So, and for people not to get asleep, it's just like with our students. We try to make it a little bit interactive, so we'll try to ask you to participate. Then we'll try to make it also 2 hours of serious fun. So I hope you enjoy, but you are talking about very serious matters. That's what I tell my students. All my classes should be about serious fun. If it's just fun, it's not good enough. It's just serious, it's not good enough. And there are some risks attached, but I hope everything will be under control, and technology will help us. And I hope I can count also with your understanding. And for interaction to happen, we need these devices, right? Do you all have mobile phones? You know this is a mobile phone, right? If someone doesn't have a mobile phone, you can borrow mine, right? But then you give it back, right? In the end, please, you don't have a mobile, oh, you wanted to have 2 mobile phones. So please make sure that you have your smartphones available, because that's the way for you to participate also in moments of this session. So are you ready? I didn't get enough energy. Are you ready? Good, that's much better. So what you should do is have access to the internet. I hope you do so. You know, human beings don't survive for more than 3 minutes without access to the internet. You can have no food, no water, but internet becomes something we don't know how to live without having it. Then you go to Slido, or you read this QR code. Or, if you go to Slido, you can also choose the number of the session we have created for you, and provided that you do all of these steps, you should be ready to go and contribute to the session, and then choose the polls option just in case you are directed to the Q&A part of it. Is everyone on board? Nobody's sleeping yet? Good, so I'll just give you 30 seconds, and then we'll test and see if you were paying attention to our rector's speech. So that's the introductory question. And that's the question. How many years is Nova celebrating? An easy one, right? Are you able to provide the answer? Okay, 50 is winning. Oh, 5 years. That was the case. I'm not going to say how many years ago. It was 5 years old, but I'm sure there was a time where Nova was 5 years old. Okay, so apparently the majority of you were paying attention to our rector's speech, and the right answer is 50. So Nova is very proud to have been collaborating and providing innovation to the world for the past 50 years. And this is part of the celebration, right? How to come up with the next 50 years and remaining young, right? You know, that is this thing, I don't know who decided that young universities are the ones that are younger than 50 years, and then we become all of a sudden old. Maybe the challenge is to make sure that you remain always young and forever young. There is a song about that, right? Forever young. That's another story. So now you know how it works, right? So let's go to the next more challenging. Oh, I don't know what happened here. So that you start interacting with your colleague, don't tell me what is the brand of your mobile phone, but the brand of your friend's mobile phone. Wow, iPhone is winning. So some of you are still providing answers. Now Samsung is recovering, right? Good, and now there is some magic to it. I'm here, I could not guess your answers, but guess what? I was able to guess just by listening to your brainwaves that one of the major answers will be Samsung, and the other will be iPhone. You see, that's magic. I'm not going to explain how I did it, but it happened. So I'm a strong magician as well. That's one of my hobbies. Now, what is the problem? One comes from the US, the other from Korea, right? And many years ago, maybe, who used a Nokia in the past? So, not good news for Europe, right? You don't have to win in all kinds of sectors, but I think that says something, right? We used to be leading the world when mobile phones were stupid. When they become smart, we lost the battle, and that makes the proper stage for moving to our first question. What are the major challenges that the world and Europe are facing today? This question is going to be answered by Daniel, Laia, and Paulo, and I'm going to ask you, as we proceed, to provide your answers as well, just with a single word, right? So that you can contribute it and can see what is the kind of contribution coming from the audience. Daniel, do you want to get started with this very easy question?
Okay, I will try to cover the topic in 2 minutes, not 3. So for me, education is part of society. At the society level, from my perspective, the key issue, the key problem now is that we can see a deteriorating effect on democracy. In the last decade, we all can see that. And if we start to think what are the core components of democracy, I would say that we can talk about trust, because it helps us when we talk about free elections. It's truth, because we talk about free media. It's also cooperation, because we talk about building institutions in the rule of law system. And my thesis is that all these 3 components are undermined by the new industrial revolution. Now, let me make clear, I don't think that technology in itself is good or bad, but it could become good or bad depending how you use it. And my thesis is that democracy didn't use it in a very clever way, because we can see the fake news, which undermine the whole idea of trust. We can see that we try to validate things by different laws, like who shouts the loudest, the number of votes, and this undermines the whole idea of truth. And also I would say that because we are under the pressure of a huge volume of information and the pressure of time, we are not reflective anymore. We don't make a distinction between asking a question, having an educated or less educated opinion, having a belief, or having a knowledge. We don't have these distinctions, and this is why we have a polarized situation, a polarized society. We get polarization in our societies because we all think that we have the truth. So, to make a long story short, this is a challenge for education, how we can train democracy to use the Industrial Revolution better in order to preserve and develop itself. This is my point.
Great, and I think you brought democracy as one of the key challenges, and that's going to be exactly one of the topics you'll be covering in more detail on Friday, right? So now, Laia, can you have here some additional insights?
Yeah, sure. I think that besides democracy, there are important new challenges because the world is changing really, really fast. So I would like just to mention just a few, but I'm sure that many more could be enumerated, right? For me, the major challenges will be aging populations the next years, freedom of research, technology and artificial intelligence, the coordination of local and global challenges, the future of job market, and also gender equality. Besides, we have climate change, but this I think that it's, everybody talk about this. So I will not talk about all of them, but for me, it's important just to preserve the research or the academic freedom. We should allow scholars to explore new ideas and engage to critical thinking. Also, regarding technology and artificial intelligence, that I think that it's a very good or really good thing, but we have to be careful with, of course, with the use of personal data and also all the governance framework, regulations, etc. about this technology, about, of course, GPT, etc. Also, I think that it's very important to coordinate, as I said, the local interest with the globalization. And here in EUTOPIA, that's important in this framework because, as before was said, we are very different from different countries, so we have to find some common space between us. And the last thing about job market, I think that we have to upskilling, to reskilling, that will be crucial for adapting to the new roles and the new jobs that they are coming. So we have to focus with a lifelong learning topic. Thanks.
The discussion to Paul Quaresma. You can see from this side, climate change, democracy, populism, are things that deserve a lot of attention that I'm not being able to see any longer, but there they are. I like that one, only 24 hours per day. I feel that one on a very daily basis. Why don't we make days that have 30 hours? But I think that's a difficult one to handle. But Paul, you come from computer science, right? So AI was mentioned, ChatGPT was mentioned. Do you want also to take that as one of the biggest challenges we have to face in Europe and in the world?
Yes, that was really, in fact, one of the points I have.
You see, I keep guessing, always. I'm a mentalist, so I know.
I think you are using some kind of AI system too.
No, I'm getting all the information here.
Okay. Yeah. Just to start, just allow me to congratulate Nova University for the 50 years and the invitation to be here. So one of the challenges that I've written here as a topic was in fact the digital revolution and the AI rise. I think we can call it this, and especially because currently we have AI systems have a lack of a responsible and ethical behavior, and this is clearly so. By responsible, I mean that systems still are not. It's not clear, it's not well supported that they are fair, transparent, explainable, reliable, secure, accountable. So in fact, we are in the middle of societal changes, big ones, major ones, probably, and I would say as disruptive as it was industrial evolution less than a century ago or more than 1 century ago. And there are many risks associated. European Union, European Commission are working on this. We have, for instance, a big discussion with AI Act. And for instance, in AI Act, AI-based social scores are forbidden. And even generative AI models, such as GPT-4, have to be quite transparent and accountable. But this is just a first step. And things go very fast in this world, in this AI and technological world. And I would say that European Union European Commission takes quite a time to have the, for instance, AI Act is being discussed for more than 1 year. It's something that we have to be faster than this. We have to be more efficient on this process. Just to finalize, so this is one of the big challenges, clearly. To finalize, I would also, I also have here a note on climate change, of course, and the Green Deal that the roadmap that was signed and has many challenges associated, and of course, democracy and social states. I think recent war in Ukraine and the impacts in the economy, the increase in inflation, interest rates, show that this European way of life cannot be taken for granted, and it requires all our coordinated effort to go in the right direction.
Great, and it's true, peace is there, so people are reacting also to what the panel members are saying. And I'm sure it will not be there 2 years ago, right? So you see the world is changing all the time, and there are things, good ones, less good ones that happen, and need us to readapt to the challenges that are being faced by Europe and the world. And that brings me to the second question. Now, if these are the challenges, and you can see a little bit the cloud of problems we have to face, then I'd say the next question is how to address these challenges and what is the role of universities for addressing these challenges. These are the 6 major official challenges which Ron already mentioned. So the week will be organized also around these big European Commission defined priorities. And let's see how we see the relevance of each of them from your point of view, from the university's point of view, to see if there are any trends or patterns, things that are more relevant for universities as opposed for other goals that be not so much related to university activities. And it's still very dynamic, but I would say European Green Deal seems to be a key priority for universities. An economy that works for people is taking the second place, and then Europe fit for the digital age seems to be the third one. That is not to say that the other ones are not relevant. I think that gives us enough information for the discussion to get started. Just give some more time because it's still going up and down. Okay, now it seems to be stable, and no, not yet. Just give an answer, right? Don't keep repeating with many answers. Just want you to contribute once for each question. Okay, so apparently now we have a tie. The new push for European democracy just became equivalent to Europe fit for the digital age. And I think we have here enough reflections for me to ask Ursula to share with us in the next second panel the views coming from these 4 distinguished top leaders from different universities. So the question is about how universities can help to address European priorities. Ursula, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for this question. I picked 2 priorities for us which are in line with our values at TUD. The first one is the Green Deal. As a university, we have made a commitment to provide answers to the most pressing challenges of our times. First and foremost, of course, this is the challenge to our planet, which threatens our survival. And so we bring to bear the most innovative research of interdisciplinary research clusters to questions like the energy sources for the future, or how do we deal with our limited resources by looking at the circular economy, the science that is needed there. So we bring science, top science, to create innovation, to tackle this huge issue. But also, as a university, we have a responsibility to provide the knowledge that is necessary to deal with climate change. And so we work on our curricula to serve the next student generation, to equip them with the competencies to tackle the climate challenge which will accompany us for quite some time to come. And we do it in multiple ways, not only in new degree programs, but also in developing certificates that can be studied alongside a given major in physics or German studies or whatever it is. And finally, as an organization, we have made a pledge that as an organization, we want to contribute. So we organize our day-to-day doings such that we save on energy, that we save on waste and all of these things. And we made a pledge to, be responsible and be monitored and supervised. My second challenge is the digital age. And I think as a university, we make major contributions there because in epistemological terms, most of our sciences are now at a point where they can only make the next leap in insight by using huge amounts of data, data-intensive science. We are in the age of data-intensive science. We as universities provide the computational tools, the algorithmic tools, and the infrastructure for all the disciplines to organize their data and make them accessible in the sense of open science. So this is a very big task also for epistemology. And of course, we provide digital competencies to our students, but not also in terms of dealing with computers, but also, developing a critical thinking approach to the information that the digital age brings to us. And I think my 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we are already working together in the green hydrogen agenda following the visit we had the pleasure of having at your wonderful university. So as for how the audience is looking into the major ways for universities to come up with solutions, I guess it was about knowledge, education, innovation, and inclusive education, developing confidence. So lots of possibilities here. And now I'll ask João to provide his own contributions. And I'm afraid he's the only one to whom I cannot show the yellow card, right? Because he's my boss, so I have to be careful. But I know he will not take more than 3 minutes anyways. João, please.
Perhaps to start with, I will not focus specifically on one or two priorities, but on how can universities help to address. One thing I should start to say is awareness. By this I mean that, of course, at the leadership level, we are fully aware of those things, but it is not clear at, let us say, at laboratory level or in the classroom, if there is the awareness that should be about let us say, the urgency to address these challenges and these priorities. Because when one starts to be aware of that, it is clear that lots of things has to change. And this is my second comment. One thing that clearly has to change, it is to start competing, to stop competing and start fostering collaboration. Mm-hmm. This is clear. The silo culture, it's me and my tribe, it will not work. The complexity, deepness, broadness of the challenges underlying these priorities are so big, are so huge, that we have to collaborate within the university and with other universities. And here I will mention two examples. Nova University has a very important national consortium with the University of Évora and the University of Algarve. We call that campus, South Campus. And in that South Campus, we addressed, as Pedro was saying, the question of renewable energies, specifically green hydrogen. So we sort out to apply for a huge, let us say, project called the Hydrogen Valley. The three universities, many other universities, and also many corporations. Another aspect that it is also interesting is education. I know I'm focusing in the 3 areas of mission. Education, for instance, we are now promoting 101 in sustainability and not equating sustainability only with climate change. We will have environment, we'll have society, and we have health. So this is going to work as, let us say, a MOOC that is open to all Nova students, and the students can, of course, freely have their access to that, and after they can be evaluated if they so wish. Perhaps I will just give 1 or 2 more examples. One example that is very interesting, it is also in the south. It is with the collab in Elvas. Elvas, it is in the south of the country, and now we collaborate at the national level with the universities and also with the associations of farmers, but also at international level. Bayer and Syngenta are our partners there, and we are working out, let's say, more pesticides that are more friendly to the environment than the traditional ones. So I think that it is very important to foster collaboration. It is something that connected communities in Utopia, I guess, are there for. And it is, at level of innovation, it is very important to bring non-academic institutions, public and private, in national and international, and it is also very important to say no. It is the level where I think it is important to say no. For instance, there are some corporations with which I don't think it would be very nice to collaborate in this matter. So generally, we have to change in the 3 areas of our mission. We have to foster awareness. We have to be prepared to change, to collaborate, and to say no sometimes.
Okay, so we are halfway through in this question. And there are some new elements coming to the cloud. Student engagement seems to be quite strong right now. Internationalization, creativity, and developing confidence and resilience. So these are the newcomers to our cloud. And now I'll ask Malin, and I wish you all the best for the new responsibilities in charge of the University of Gothenburg, a beautiful city that I've seen in the past.
So much.
And there was a football game that Portugal won when I was in Gothenburg. So it brought good luck to Portugal. So go ahead, please. But it was not against Sweden, so make sure that we don't have any diplomatic issues here. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So for me, I think the universities and higher education and research is a cornerstone for meeting the global challenges. And I think we can look at what happened during the pandemic, for example, a big global challenge that we didn't solve it, but together, by collaboration worldwide, we did something that we thought we couldn't in a very short time. So we developed the vaccine. And I think that is, it's important for the academic world to have things like that, so we can show that research and knowledge can really make a difference. And I also think it's been the democratic challenges, I think for them as well, educating young people to manage critical thinking and to have higher education institutions that are autonomous, non-political, is a very big step in having many different perspectives and engaging students with different perspectives. For sustainability, that's also a part where I think that the students are they are before us in the thinking, the critical thinking, and by having the education and the research behind them, they can really be change agents in society in a way that we really need to foster. And by having the open science that we have today, we can also show the collaboration between different institutions that we are an example of here today by having the international collaborations being more firmly rooted in an alliance like EUTOPIA, for example, where we have cross-disciplinary collaboration for the global challenges. So I think that autonomous higher education is one way to really address the democratic challenges, and cross-disciplinary collaboration and open science. So we can really show that we are relevant and can really make a change. And I also think that the generic knowledge that we have in universities, in the education, but also in research, is a very powerful tool in addressing the global challenges.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll move all the way from Northern Europe to the very south of Portugal. So, Alexandra, any comments?
Okay, good afternoon all. I would like to thank the invitation of NOVA and also EUTOPIA to be here, and on the behalf of the University of Algarve and also the European University of the Seas. In fact, I think that the way to address the European priorities and the global challenges is in fact through strong partnerships within the European higher education. And for that, I can also give you the example, as the director of NOVA already mentioned, our partnership within Portuguese universities that address South global challenges like climate change, aquatic food production. But I also would like to mention another strong partnership that the University of Algarve it's taking part. It's a new European university. It's called the European University of the Seas, that bring together 9 universities in coastal areas addressing marine and maritime issues connected with the regional challenges. And for through that we aim to add more blue to the Green Deal, because the blue ecosystems are sometimes not completely integrated in the Green Deal, and the macroalgae, the seagrasses, the tiny microalgae can also have an important impact on mitigating climate change. And in fact, they give value to the sea economy. Even the carbon credits can enter the global trade. And to address this in the global way, we think that courses developed within this type of partnerships, like European universities, are much more stronger and can also reach other parts of the planet, mainly through innovation in education, mainly hybrid systems, where the capacity building can be built in situ to solve their problems in the different coastal areas, to address in fact, the global challenge of the future of the planet, that it's also coming through the ocean for an important solution. Within this strong partnership, we are, in fact, already being prepared to submit the first joint European degree in sustainable blue growth, and we'll be launching the CU Congress within the European Universities of the Sea in the University of Algarve by the end of this year. And I would like to invite you all also to join that event.
Great, and I'm glad that you brought oceans to discussion, because Portugal is a very small country from a land point of view, but if you look at it from an ocean economic zone point of view, I think we are number 8. So it depends on the perspective you want to have, lots of potential there. And this is the final picture for our second panel. So developing confidence is still very strong, and I think that's very good for universities, because I believe we are some of the institutions that people really trust, regardless of whatever is happening in the world, and therefore I think it's something that we can consider as a strength. But I see there that some skills are also appearing, like creativity and critical thinking, and that brings me exactly to the next dimension of discussion. So I keep guessing, right, the connection. So everything was planned. I planned their answers. Everything is under control. So this is the next question and the next 3 speakers. And we are trying to get here some insights about what kind of skills do you think are needed for us to achieve a better Europe and a better world. And we'll start with Laurent, please.
Thank you for this question. Answering this question requires from me to take a diversion into French politics, with your agreement, to prospect ourselves onto the alliance and global levels. To begin with, I propose that we analyze the notion of competence and this place in the universities. In France, we have an injunction to attack a skills reference framework to each diploma. A task that existed in the past, but which we know widespread. Most often, they are broken down into subject-specific, linguistic, cross-disciplinary, and pre-professional skill. I have to tell you that this work itself is not always easiest with our team. Because for decades, the university was seen as the only place for knowledge and not for skill. To add to complexity, I should mention the 3 families identified for the European Skill Agenda. Strengthening sustainable competitiveness as set out in the European Green Deal, ensuring its social fairness, putting into practice the first principle of the European Pillar of Social Rights, access to education, training and lifelong learning for everybody, everything in Europe, building resilience to react to crisis. Finally, in France, we have the France 2030 program. We set 10 objectives based on 3 challenges: producing better, living better, and understanding our world better. These objectives cover areas as diverse as small-scale nuclear reactors, healthy food, the production of cultural goods, and the study of the seabed. As you can see, we're dealing with priorities identified by the government to, if you agree, involve university in building a better world. The list could undoubtedly be modified from one country to another or even an European level. In view of this, how can EUTOPIA help to provide skills for a better Europe? I will say simply by continuing the work of our teams to transfer our global connecting communities method. This method will enable us to build a strong EUTOPIA College and EUTOPIA Global Institute, rooted in the issue of our century and capable of solving these problems. Thank you.
Thank you. And apparently critical thinking is leading the way. So can you, besides any other things you want to comment, say a little bit how Warwick looks into critical thinking as a very important skill for students? Please, Mike.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, it's really good to see the
all of the different skills coming through on the screen there, and they're all, of course, really, really important. I want to take a slightly different approach, if I may, rather than talking about specific skills. I mean, if we take the broad view, the skills that we provide students have got to ultimately lead to greater productivity in the workforce. That drives up wages, that drives up living standards, and that, of course, at the same time has to be inclusive. If we want to value our European ideals, it's really important that we enhance the skills and ensure that people aren't left behind in our society. I think that's really crucial to minimize division in our society. I think another thing that's really important that universities can do is that they can use high-quality research to inform the skills that we need to develop. We can all write lists like that one there, but we need to understand what are the skills that people are going to need for the future in the workplace. And universities can develop that thinking to understand that. Of course, the biggest priorities for the new skills development have to be in the areas of digital technologies. We've heard a lot about that already. Data science, analytics, AI, data visualization, programming, cyber, all of those things. And then all of the skills we need for the new industries to support the climate emergency, new technologies, new industries, batteries, electric vehicles. We do a lot of that in upskilling workforce, for example, at the University of Warwick. But what universities are really good at is skilling and preparing people for the workforce. What we're not so good at is reskilling people later in life. And I think this reskilling agenda is going to become really, really important, both for society, as technology moves at an ever-increasingly fast rate, but also, you know, it's going to be really important that the universities are able to help with that reskilling of the workforce. That's everything from micro-credentials, of course, this whole concept of lifelong learning, and in the area of degree apprenticeships. So this is where people work in the workplace and then they come back into university on a part-time basis to further enhance their skills. And of course, things like FlexLab through EUTOPIA are doing some great work around micro-credentials, and degree apprenticeships are already a really important part of what Warwick does in engineering, social work, computing, clinical practice. And I think we can all learn a great deal from each other within EUTOPIA about how we can really enhance lifelong learning and skill and reskilling across the Alliance. So I think there's lots of interesting things to do there.
Good. I'm glad to see that regardless of technological developments, empathy, humanity, and solidarity are things we should not forget, right? And I think that's the beauty also of universities, never forgetting that this is the most important thing. Isabel, do you want to make some additional comments?
Well, thank you. Let me just start by congratulating Nova on being a very fit 50-year-old and to wish at least 100 years more and even more than that, with good health and brilliant research and education. Now, I couldn't agree more with what my previous colleagues said, but I want to take a slightly different approach here to the skill sets. Because when we think of what universities do, certainly we are institutions that drive professionalization and capacity building of professionals. We contribute to growth and productivity, and that should be at the forefront of our concerns. But we are also strategic in upholding the values of democracy. We provide not only professionalization, but also an education. We educate for better citizens. And in that sense, we need to foster in our students and in our graduates the kind of skills that the colleagues have also been discussing: collaboration, and also the ability to select amongst the wealth of information that is at our reach nowadays. With big data, the production of data, and you are an expert in the area, is absolutely overwhelming for a human mind. it is not so much the information that is out there, but how to navigate and how to make a selection. And for that, we need other kinds of skills. We need to be able to discern. Critical thinking is absolutely of the essence. Having said that, I want to draw attention to a study that was published last year by the OECD on critical thinking at universities. It is a cautionary tale that came out in August 2022. The title of the study is Are Universities Teaching Graduates Critical Thinking? And the data that ensues from this study must lead us to rethink some of the things that we are doing. One, so the data results from the scores of the Collegiate Learning Assessment, and there are three outcomes which, to my mind, are particularly concerning. The first one states that there is little correlation between the skills that students bring into the university and the skills that they live with, meaning that it is selection and not what universities bring into the curriculum that will that results in the final outcomes that the students live with. Now, that is very concerning when one of our main missions is, of course, to widen access and to provide the skills to close the inequality gap that is widening in our societies. The second outcome is the second is that performance is determined by selection, not by what universities produce. And the third one, that pertains to critical thinking, studies the correlation between the new methodologies, service learning, field work, and the production of critical thinking. And again, it shows that the fields where critical thinking scores are higher are the ones that use a mix with traditional lectures and traditional teaching methods. So this means that we need to rethink some of the things that we are applying. To my mind, we need, of course, it doesn't mean taking away from these more inclusive methodologies to go back to traditional ways of thinking, but that we must equate the new pathways with some of the traditional methodologies so that we can truly contribute to bridge the skills gap and to contribute to a society where our graduates will do well in life, not provided from the skills that they bring owing to the group they were born into, but because of what we bring into the table. And I think that is crucial in our days, particularly as Europe is also being, the demographics of Europe are changing. We've heard speaking about aging, but also the new cultures that are bringing in and the kind of skills that we need to develop in our curricula to integrate diversity and respect for human dignity at this time.
That's a very good point, and I could not agree more that you need to use the new technologies, but I'm always fascinated by the Richard Feynman lectures, just using the blackboard to explain theoretical physics through storytelling. So it's up to you to make what works the best, and there is no single answer for that. So critical thinking seems to be here the winner, which means that we need to promote, on one hand, thinking, because if you don't think, it's very hard that you'll do critical thinking. So the two combined together are a major challenge, I would say, these days. And since, once again, I knew that Isabel was going to mention OECD, I brought the World Economic Forum. They put together a number of skills they believe are going to be the most important ones for the future. That's the latest release. And the next poll, I want to ask you, what do you think is the most important out of these top 10 skills for universities to promote and teach? And creative thinking is there, so everything is consistent, right, apparently. Let's see what they think. If creative thinking is the most important skill, together with analytical thinking. So there is, so thinking is really what universities are all about, right? So more analytical, more creative thinking, curiosity and lifelong learning. I think that's also very nice. Okay, so I think, no, not yet there. Now, curiosity took the lead. And once again, I think that's what explains universities, right? People want to learn more and be curious in general. So here, apparently, now we have a more stable kind of situation with curiosity, lifelong learning being the lead, then analytical thinking, then creative thinking, and then the other things, right? And maybe technological literacy is not needed because it's there, right? Babies are born with technological literacy these days, right? It's embedded in the DNA or whatever. I don't know how that happens, but maybe that's not any longer such a huge priority. Good, so that brings the stage for the next question. And the next question has to do, I think we moved, there is a missing slide here, it doesn't matter. It's for you, the three, right? Eva, Gregor, and Maria. But before we go to the question, oh, I thought there was someone saying that governments were supporting well enough your universities, and I'd like to talk with those respondents. Oh, now we have 14%. Can you join me in the end of the session? I want to know a little bit more about what is going on in your universities. But apparently, societies are not doing enough for European universities. And since I travel a lot along the world, that's true. I mean, just go to China, go to the Middle East, even go to Latin America or US, and you can see that huge investments are taking place, and that I'm not so sure the same kind of speed of investment is happening in Europe, but it's up to you to make the judgment, and now it brings me to the next question about how, if that is the case, we don't believe there is enough support, what do you think that governments, societies, European Commission might do to provide stronger support to European universities? And Eva, since you are leaving office, you can say whatever you want right now.
Yes, I can.
No problems.
Well, that's good. That's at least one thing. Actually, are they doing enough to support universities? Then one should think, what's in it for them? So what is the opinion that, and this is a very broad question, you know. So when you're saying government and the EU and policymakers, what are they doing? Everyone have their own way of thinking. And by the way, you changed the formulation in the question, you know.
Yeah, we keep always updating reality.
I know.
It's agility.
That's a creative thing, yes. Anyway, I think that, as we've heard here, what's important for our governments who actually help us out? I think one thing is very important is the autonomy. Universities are autonomous entities, and we have our academic freedom. We should have that. At the same time, some of us are very strongly, you know, directed by the government. We can be strongly directed in some way also by the European Union. But at the end of the day, our goal is to produce as good research and education as possible in order to have these skills that you were talking about. And I think Mike is into something that I would like to see more from governments and from the Union, and that is to see how we're going to tackle the global challenges, how we're going to tackle the Green Deal and the digitalization, if we're not thinking about the fact that it is a repetition of going in and out from academia and into the society because of the lifelong learning, because of skills that all the time have to be filled on top. So I'd say that the question is almost impossible to answer because it depends on which government, what kind of ideas they have, which EU and which commission is actually in the lead. And at the same time, I really hope that there will still be arm's length from the government, from the EU and the universities, so that the universities can be as free as possible, because if we are not that, then everything fails, I'd say. Of course we have to collaborate, but it's not what they do for us, it's also what we are willing to do to be called a university, because universitas, and you know what that means. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and the rectors are the right people for us to ask impossible questions, right? So that's why being asked difficult ones. Gregor, so you celebrated 100 years as a university 2 years ago, if I remember it well. I know the number of bridges you have in Ljubljana, that's a difficult one, right? So what is your opinion on how can societies in general, governments and the European Commission further support European universities?
I will focus on European Union because it's that was kind of idea of European Union, and I would divide my answer in 3 parts. Firstly, I think they should continue to financially to support the alliances if they really want to develop them. During the last year, there was a lot of discussions, and one question often popped up that whether we would continue to collaborate even with without financial support from the European Union. And we usually say, yes, of course we will, we develop this trust and everything, but I think it's kind of tricky question, because if we'll repeat that too many times, maybe some bureaucrat in European Union will say, oh, then you don't need the money, then we'll just take the money away and you should collaborate. So I think we should be really careful when we talk about that, and we really want to make some meaning out of that. We need to get the continuous support, because not all universities could support this by their own means. There are big differences in financial means of the universities. Secondly, I think we have to start thinking about the strategy, what we really want out of this. What would we think about European University in 2030, 2050? I think it was a great idea that is built up from the bottom up and top down, but I think now it's time, after 5 years or 4 years of European universities, that we make some concrete strategy. What do we want to do in the future? What do we want to develop? Or how to...
we have the answer already, right?
Okay. And the third one, I think we have to think how to reduce or make minimal the bureaucratic measures that could impede the creation of European universities. For example, just give one example, joint study programs and bringing study programs closer together. That could cause a lot of problems with the national accreditation agencies. And one thing that we could start thinking about it would be a very broad-reaching, but would be national European accreditation agency for study programs of European universities, and nobody's talking about that. I know there is a tricky question because research policy is at the level of the EU and higher education is at the level of national governments, but we have to start to think if we really want to see the progress in European alliances.
Yeah, I still remember a long time ago there was an European Union target having 2% of GDP allocated to higher education, not to research. And maybe that explains why we have not achieved, or we should discuss a little bit if some countries have achieved that or not. But apparently what is being said here is that it's a matter of funding, but also of autonomy. And I think from a public policy point of view that has been proven. Give the resources that are needed and let them manage well the resources, and you'll have a very good higher education system. But let's listen to our neighbors here in Lisbon, from Isqueté, Maria Guerreiro. What are your thoughts on this issue? How can societies further support European universities?
So I would like to thank Nova for this invitation to Isqueté, and to congratulate Nova, of course, for this 50th anniversary. I have prepared 3 ideas also for these 3 minutes, and I want to read them to make sure I will not take too much time than that. First, I would like to stress that for the development of European universities as a whole, European Union, society, public policies should focus more on broadening, improving and refining the channels of accurate information. taking into account the principles of open access advocated by the EU, information on the European Union strategic orientations about higher education, on the various funding programs to which universities can apply, for instance, should be more widely available and sufficiently in advance with supportive and well-informed EU central and local contact points. Many times we feel that this is not enough disseminated and crucial information is not reaching to us, maybe because we are in the bottom of Europe in proper time. Second idea, emphasize cooperation rather than competition. I believe that I am following here the words of Professor Saaguas, and I really stress this is an important issue, based also on the European principles of EDI, equality, diversity, and inclusion. It is important to promote programs that support partnerships, consortia, networks of cooperation, instead of creating islands in desertified territories without resources and opportunities. I believe that quality is achieved more through enlarged partnerships and open opportunities than through competition as isolation. And furthermore, I would say that it is not proven that competition promotes quality. Third idea, I suggest that considering positive examples from my point of view as Bologna process or the former Erasmus programs in its first actions and those who are still running, in which practically all universities in the European Union participate. So this is an important way of cooperating and creating programs and funding that allow the potential of all universities to be developed and contribute to the development of the regions, to develop of our different ecosystems, to the development of our societies, and of course, the development of the European Union as a whole, engaging societies, engaging populations, and what it has already been stressed before, in an aging society like ours, the lifelong learning is something we must take much more seriously. And universities have a role to play if the policies are the right ones. Thank you.
Great, and this is the final summary we got. So empowering universities is as important as funding and money. So we'll make sure the Secretary of State receives this message, we hope, coming from such a distinguished panel. And therefore, I think we are ready to go to our very last question, which is a little bit the reverse way of looking into it and seeing how university alliances can contribute to a better Europe and a better world and a better future. So we can start with VUB, and thanks for hosting the commencement event at European Parliament next September. Jan, any thoughts on the role of European university alliances?
Thank you. This is the longest row of rectors I've ever seen in my life. But, did we apply for the Guinness Book of Records?
We'll send it to the Guinness Book of Records, yeah. There is someone from them sitting here to make sure it happens.
We're living strange times, and let's go back to the basics of the European Union. The European Union, the construction was based on two things. First, prevention of wars, the desire for peace on the continent after World War II, and secondly, our shared democratic values. Human rights, democracy, equality between women and men, freedom of press, etc. Now, Europe's unity has suffered two serious blows. First of all, with Brexit. And secondly, three, in fact, the fundamental rights also are being questioned even within Europe. And thirdly, of course, the attack from Russia to Ukraine, which can be seen as an attack from an autocratic regime against a democratic regime. So our democracy, our European construction, and its core values are more under attack than ever, and we should do things in order to strengthen these. After a phase of globalization, and some thinkers predicted the end of history, we are entering again a phase of tribalization where people are closing up in tribes within our society, cancelling the other tribes, and also tribalization on a geopolitical level. So what I think which we need is a kind of new renaissance, new humanism, in which networks of intellectuals, researchers, thinkers, philosophers, artists can move and propagate ideas in open environments. And this is what happened in the past, in the Renaissance, from just arbitrary, I take it, started in 2,000 years ago in the Caliphate of Cordoba, and then ideas and people moved to Paris, and from Paris to Bologna and Padua, which was the University of Venice, and then to Flanders, and when in Portugal, I can say this, the Spanish Inquisition became too strong, they moved up north for Protestant countries, offering more freedom. So it might sound as a huge leap, but I think the European University Alliances can indeed play this role of promoting a new kind of European Renaissance with students, researchers, scholars, promoting new practices, new research, teaching practices, promoting new ideas and promoting new solutions to these particularly uncertain times which we are facing. And I believe this is how alliances like EUTOPIA, which are student-centered, open, inclusive, placemaking, can make a contribution to a better Europe.
Okay, so as you can see, reaffirming the way of life and promoting European values apparently are quite strong key points to take here. I don't know if defund military is something that Luis is going to agree upon since he's from the Military University Institute, but later on you'll have a chance of commenting on this message coming from the audience. And now we'll move to Sandra, who is from the University of Aveiro. Aveiro is known as the Venice of Portugal. That's why I decided to sit you together with each other. We have the two Venices here, the one from Italy and Aveiro, which is known to be the national Venice. Sandra, any thoughts?
Pedro. Thank you. And thank you for the excellent historical context, which I think helps a lot to what we all have to say. I think one of the main roles of the European universities is to engage communities, transnational communities and communities that involve society, as was mentioned before, students of course, but also staff, researchers and professors. So it is important that we include all in this ecosystem of critical thinking, of responding, trying to tackle the societal challenges. And that's what we all should be worried about and taking care of. And also another role I think European universities play, which is very relevant because we are more than the sum of the parts, all our alliances, is to transform teaching and learning. And that has been said already, and also research. We should move towards a more challenge-based approach, both in teaching and learning, but also in research, so that together with people from different scientific fields, with society, we can indeed tackle these challenges we are all facing. Another thing I would reinforce, which has been said before, and it's the hallmark of the European Consortium of Innovative Universities, which is the alliance Aveiro is part of, is continuous education or lifelong learning, as has been said. So it's very relevant that we offer citizens with opportunities for upskilling and reskilling and take care of the quality of what we are offering. And of course, because we are more than the sum of the parts, together we can offer quality, high quality and sustainable offerings in this respect. And finally, I think human skills. The other day in the US, I heard about human skills as the equivalent, the new equivalent of soft skills. And I think those are absolutely, that they are the pillar of all of what we are doing, because this is about human connections. And the more we are capable of doing that and transforming our students, our staff together, the more we will achieve. So my 2 cents.
Okay, and now Tiziana as chair of EUTOPIA. Any thoughts on how university alliances can make a change?
Thank you, Pedro. It is very difficult to say something original at this stage. Everything has been said. I try to say something. I agree that the European initiatives are an attempt to promote European values and to build European identity, especially towards other countries, and so to become a strong continent from the point of view of values, mostly. So what European universities are expected by the Commission is concrete results, especially for the young generation. We don't speak enough about the students, so we should put the students more at the core, at the center of European universities. And as many colleagues have said today, building skills for them and creating more opportunities of exchange. Of course, this was done also before with the Erasmus program. So I think the added value of European alliances is for administrative staff, for the students, but also administrative staff. We can give them opportunities to knowing other universities, other systems, other governance systems. And this is also something relevant for all of us. And we have to acknowledge that we are all different. We have different cultures, and what is positive is to confront each other with these different experiences and cultures. That's why European universities and EUTOPIA in particular promote multiculturalism and multilingualism, because this is an added value. What should European university do is, according to me, influence policymakers. So to be an example for policymakers and also to help European societies to grow together and to collaborate. So the collaboration should also be extended to societies. And of course, building European identity means also build European soft power. So to conclude, what is a European university? According to me, is an acceleration of innovative research and also pedagogical models. And also, in conclusion, I think that the aims of the European alliances are very ambitious, and we cannot fulfill all what we are thinking to do in the future, but it is already important to do something for society and for the young generations. Thank you.
Great, so last but not least, let's move to Luis. Given your experience with it, it is a little bit different, I guess, from the others' experience, but very useful. Can you also share with us some thoughts on the role of university alliances to build a better future?
Good afternoon to you all, and let me start to point out that in addition to all the challenges already identified, and from the military university perspective, that one of the major challenges that Europe is facing is the development of a common security and defense capability. And that must be based on a robust common policy, common security and defense policy, and also an effective and deep interoperability and cooperation among the EU member states' armed forces. Erasmus has already been talked about, but I point out that in a military context, there is also an European initiative for the exchange of young officers, inspired by Erasmus, and is often referred to as Military Erasmus or Emilio. And this initiative is based on a 2008 decision of all European Union Ministers of Defense taken at the External Relations Council meeting, with the overall goal of harmonizing the European Union basic officer education to increase interoperability and to promote European security and defense culture, and thus to increase Europe's security. Due to the fact that the initiative is implemented by member states on a purely voluntary basis, their autonomy with regard to military training is not compromised. And the implementation of this initiative is driven by the key idea that exchanges of young officers during their initial training form the cornerstones for the emergency in the longer run of increased interoperability and cooperation among EU member states armed forces, and also a common culture that are both needed for European security and defense, thus contributing for a better Europe in this context. And this initiative has several lines of development, and one of them, and it relates directly to the issue that we are discussing on this question, is the European Military Universities Network. And this initiative is dedicated to explore the internationalization of military academies using the European Universities Initiative, and aims to increase the level of interoperability of future activities, leading to increasing the security and defense capabilities of individual member states and the entire European Union, and thus creating stable conditions for ensuring peace. Its idea is to create a transnational alliance, cooperating networks of military universities and academies, which want to increase the level of internationalization and development, and is dedicated to cadets, teaching activities, including scientific and research as well. And just to point out two main benefits that are expected from this initiative is the dissemination of the internationalization of education by increasing the accessibility to mobility, i.e. virtual mobility, participation in internationally developed education programs and also joint courses, and also acquisition and improvement of students' competencies such as development of cooperation in a multinational, multicultural environment, and transversal skills such as critical thinking, creativity, and active citizenship. And in a very short and nutshell, this is what I would have to add on this subject to you all. Thank you.
Great, and once again, promoting humanism seems to be on top of the list. So I think it's consistent with previous responses we got. When you are looking for some new ideas or even to start a discussion with your students, something that I started to do this semester is that I go to ChatGPT. So I'll share with you what ChatGPT has to say about this question, and it's rather amazing. So ChatGPT knows about European university alliances, and it knows what should be the role of European universities alliances, and it provided me with a full page for each of the dimensions I shared with you there. And they're not too far away from some of the things you just said as human beings. So don't ask me why ChatGPT knows so much about Europe. I don't care about European universities alliances, but these are the top 6 contributions, and lots of more details are attached to what should be done. This is just the short summary. So now I'll ask you to sort of prioritize. If we agree these are some of the priorities for European Universities Alliance, that's a ChatGPT view of the problem, which ones do you consider to be the most important ones? Okay, so it's very dynamic, not yet a clear pattern. Wow, I've never seen such an unstable pattern of answers, which is good, which maybe means that all the different dimensions may be important. But I'd say strengthening collaboration seems to be, it seemed to be. No, it's still, well, it's a tie, right? Let's see who is the winner. Come on. We have funds for one dimension, for the other. You can only answer once, but the system excludes the possibility of having votes that don't match reality. We have seen that elsewhere, right? So we want to avoid any kind of interference with democracy here. So apparently there is a tie. Strengthening collaboration and addressing societal challenges are some of the key roles for European universities to address. And then as a third place, promoting innovation and research. So I think that's a very interesting conclusion as well. Thanks for keeping the discussion within the time framework that was made available to our panelists. So even rectors respect 3 minutes rules. That's really amazing. And we'll move to Q&A. Now it's your time to ask questions, make comments, and we have a wide variety of leading thinkers in the field, so benefit from this possibility of having 17 different views for you to share additional thoughts or even to disagree with what was said. So just make sure you identify yourself and say to whom you are asking the particular question, if that's the case. If it's a generic question for all the 17 members, that's fine as well. And you have 2 possibilities for raising the question. I need to see the screen there again. Okay, who is shy here? We have no shy people? Okay, those of you that are shy can use Slido to write down the question, right? Those of you that want to speak real life, just raise your hands and you'll have some microphones available so that you can address the speakers by using the microphones on the room. So I'll just try to see if there are any hands raised. I don't see any hands raised so far. There is one hand raised. Everyone is pointing to someone else, but that's you, right? So congratulations for being the first one, and the microphone is just about to join you. Good, so introduce yourself and just say who you want to address, please.
My name is Pat Freeman, former rector of the University of Gothenburg. And I would like to raise something. I don't know who wants to answer, but one of the important things I see with the Alliance is the culture exchange between the different countries and how we have mobility of students in being mobilized to see differences, to respect differences, and to develop a more human view on what is going on. So how do you see that that could be improved? How can we have this cultural exchange on students and also staff?
Okay, anyone wants to comment on this one? Cultural issues and cultural challenges in international environments? Yes, please. Oh, this is from Gothenburg to Gothenburg. Sure. Go ahead, please. Oh, we lost one microphone. Okay.
I'm ashamed to be the one who answers my former rector, but anyway, okay. I think that there are others here who can say something. This has been a discussion since we started EUTOPIA, how to bring in the possibility of our students and staff to embrace the different cultures that there are within our institutions and in our countries. And I don't think that we have solved that yet, but I know that it must come also from the students. It is very important that students and staff meet, maybe digitally, that you are maybe curious to learn a crash course in language, because we've been speaking about this, and Tiziana, you also said that. We're using English here, but I could actually speak Italian, and I know that many of you would understand me from the Portuguese and the Spanish and the French. So I think it's possible, but this is still a key question, because that will be not only the soft values, it will be actually like the inclusive part, because many of us don't understand what's going on here in Lisboa or what's going on in Ljubljana or whatever, and how you greet, how you meet. Do you kiss on both sides of the cheeks and so on? You think these are stupid things. It's not. So Pam, I'm really very pleased that you put up this question, because we have to take care about it, or I say, you who are in the leadership now of Utopia, and I will be there backseat driving if you want.
Great, and if you're in Portugal, I mean, it's 2 kisses, 3 kisses, I mean, it's part of our culture, right? We are welcomers. Please, Isabel.
I just wanted to say, to remind us all that Jean Monnet said that were he to restart the integration process, he would start with culture, not as he did with the economic and industrial policies. And I think that's interesting. And it should make us think that we have to go back to the roots, to culture.
Okay, so we'll try to, okay, we have lots of questions there, lots of questions here, but please, short comments.
Yeah, just a short comment. I think communities of practice are a very good way to approach this. At the ECI, you have done a micro-credential in micro-module in multicultural competencies, which was very successful. And I think we need to do more work in terms of multicultural competencies. I've lived in Sweden, by the way, and I know about some of the differences and challenges I faced, and I'm sure that's all over between us. So.
Okay, please, Tiziana.
Just very shortly, I take this opportunity to, for a short notice on the fact that now hybrid mobility is encouraged. And we know how different it is to be together in person. So in order to fully understand one culture, you have to be in the place and live together with the community, not only the students and staff, but also with the people.
Okay, so maybe you can move now to this other question. What are you doing to support diversity in society, which is not just about cultural differences? Any ideas on how to deal with diversity and support societies that have larger and larger diversity? João, yes.
Thank you. I think it is important to distinguish between, let us say, tolerance and cooperation. Because one bad way for me to deal with diversity is to be tolerant towards that. The other thing is to have, let us say, an active role and to collaborate. And that's where diversity is at its best, I would say. How can universities promote, let us say, active collaboration among diverse people, diverse groups of researchers, diverse universities, and so on and so forth? I would say that it is very important, something that was already tackled here more than once: missions, challenges. People, it is in a sense as if you are playing a game, but this is a serious game. Mm-hmm. People tend to collaborate and to join their diverse contribute to achieve a mission, to meet a challenge. So this is also a challenge for education, for our way of doing research, and for our way of doing innovation.
Great. Any questions from the audience coming through the microphone? Now that our previous rector from Gothenburg provided the lead, I don't see anyone raising the hands. Oh, there is one hand here. Please. The microphone is on the way. No, it's coming through the other side.
Yes. For me, if I were providing the money for this alliance, I would want to know, what do you do differently as an alliance that you don't do individually? So many of the questions are addressed at things that you're already doing individually. And of course, some of the answers that we've heard have been about the strength of the alliance, but I think the focus must be on that, is what can we do different over and above that which we can do individually by being part of an alliance. And I think that should be where we're focusing. And I'd like to know, if there were what are the one or two key things? Well, obviously, we've heard some of that in,
Sure.
in the last panel, but that should be the focus, it seems to me.
Any contributions on what is already being done differently from just adding up things that are already happening anyways through the existing university? Paulo, yes?
Yep, thanks. Just, well, I'm not in the same alliance, but University of Évora is a member of another European alliance. It's called the EU Green, with 9 other universities. And I think, in my view, the key point is really the word alliance. This is not a consortium of universities that just join and to apply for some research projects and things like this. It has to be an alliance in a way that we have to share goals and a view for the future. That's, I would say, the next level. Okay, of course, it will be important to have a consortium for some, well, proposals for European projects, for BIPs, these blended intensive programs and dual degrees, or these kind of things. But the key point is alliance. It's not a consortium. So sharing goals, in our case, it was assumed sustainability is the key word and the key expression. But trying to answer partially, of course, your question. It's a big and good question. It's a good question, but I would say this: it's alliance.
Okay, we can now move to slide. What impact tensions will come out from this week? That's a very pragmatic, short-term question, right? Any commitments on things that should be happening during the week so that by the end of the week we'll have something going on that is not yet there? Any creative thoughts? No ideas? Oh, okay, there you are. Ursula, please.
Well, I mean, we are connecting here on various levels for various tasks. So, of course, the output of this week will be that the work packages in our current proposal will document and discuss with each other what the progress is and where the problems are and how we can make better progress moving forward. And then the vice presidents are meeting and they're having their own agenda moving forward. And we, as the presidents of the EUTOPIA Alliance, have big challenges to tackle. One is that we finally agree on how we constitute the legal entity that will form the alliance, or the legal entity based in Brussels. And the second, also big topic and challenge, is how we are going to move forward with our global partners. And the third big issue is how are we going to define issues of content in terms of innovation as well as in terms of research collaborations that will make us distinct from other alliances. So we have lots of big issues to tackle, and I hope we will be in a different state at the end of this week than from now.
Good. I'm sure that's going to be the case. We'll be checking by Friday, right, if everything happened according to the goals that have been defined. We have time for one more question from the audience, if there is one. Please, let's just see where the microphone is. Oh, we have an...
Okay, thank you.
And then another one here. Yeah, so we do 2 questions in a row.
Yeah,
please.
So I just wanted to ask, I think it was interesting to see how critical thinking became such a strong buzzword on the cloud. And I wonder what your reaction is to that. So my question isn't to anyone in particular, but to everyone. Do you have how did you react to that in any special way? And I also wonder if you could say something about how the idea of critical thinking relates to the challenge-driven approach that's so central in EUTOPIA. If there are some contradictions in that, or if it's, yeah.
Okay. I think we just had a wonderful example of creative thinking here in a very short period of time. But how are you going to handle, I'd say, this very important message? We need to make sure that you promote more and more creative thinking. I think that was the first question, right? There is a second one coupled to the first one. Any practical examples on the efforts being done or that you foresee as being part of the future to have more and more creative thinking going on? Wow, what a silence, right? It's easier to say than to do, right? So I can understand. No comments? Okay, please, thank you.
Well, I think we have to be creative to promote creative thinking. So we have to use more non-traditional, maybe teaching methods, and we have to develop the higher education teaching methods and have students engage more in discussions and active student activities and active student learning. I think that's a way to promote creativity.
Good, and I think we have here one other question from the audience, and then we'll move again to the Slido questions. Yeah, right here, the very first row, where good students sit, right? That's what it used to be. I don't know if that's the case any longer, but
okay, thank you.
I'm not saying bad things about the ones that are sitting down there, right? So,
okay,
good.
thank you.
Sorry.
I am from International University of Rabat from Morocco, Africa, as global partner. And my question is, what type of action can such alliance, EUTOPIA alliance, but other alliance from Europe can do to help the creation of alliance in Africa, and also to invite a government or African Union to support such alliance? Thank you.
Any comments on how we might help and interact with other non-European universities? Okay, please.
So I think we know there's going to be lots of opportunities for alliances between the EU and the AU through the next round of Horizon and Erasmus. So some of us here as part of EUTOPIA are also part of the Guild, which is one of the associate partners of EUTOPIA. And we've just announced, actually, some of us are involved in formulating alliances with African universities as part of Africa-European collaboration. So I think there will be lots of opportunity for EUTOPIA and our other partners to build upon that in the future.
Good, and I'm sure you're aware there is a big delegation from NOVA visiting Rabat next week, so that we hope we'll come up with further dreams and projects to be done together. Okay, so I guess we only have time for one additional question coming from Slido, and I guess I'll just respect the order. Which possibilities do you see to engage students more in the Utopian Alliance? You saw that student engagement is very important. A subset of student engagement is making sure they understand they're students of the university that belongs to a broader setting, which is the Utopian network. I guess the commencement event is already one step in that direction. But any comments on how can bring students to make sure they're engaged not just to their own university, but as well to the broader European University Alliances? Yes, please.
No, it's just a comment. I think that we have to ask what they want or what they expect from one alliance like EUTOPIA. Mm-hmm. So if we ask them, if we just give them room to participate, whatever activity they propose, of course, it has to have sense, then they will be more engaged.
Yeah, I think co-designing is part of the solution, right? Design thinking with students rather than presenting them, because they think in quite different ways, right? We are getting old.
Well, I think
yeah.
we have already a good track record as Utopia, how we have been engaging students, because
Mm-hmm.
they are actually at the core of the first round of funding with the connected learning communities, where students in their respective classrooms across the 6 different universities got together digitally and connected around crucial topics that they selected together with their docents. And we are working on this further to increase the number of the connected learning communities. We are going to build joint degrees amongst subgroups of our University Alliance. And we are also, what I always wanted to get involved with is that as the 10 universities across Europe, really from the east to the west, from the north to the south, we could start organizing action days around crucial topics that we all share, be it sustainability, be it protection of our democracy, and we could align this with public communication efforts so that across 10 different cities in Europe at a given day, we are just, doing similar things and trying to alert the public or alert politicians, or we join as a discussing community online at the same time on topics like this. So, and then thanks to our colleague Jan Dankert from VUB, this time in September we will for the first time opening the academic year for Utopia with Utopia students from 10 universities, hopefully traveling to Brussels and being in the European Parliament and opening our academic year. So I think we are bringing it together, and we are very open, and we would love to hear the ideas of our students and doctoral students, how they want to make a difference in our alliance. We are very open for that. We have a student council which will meet this week at Nova Week for the first time with the new board of directors, and so we are looking forward to that exchange.
Okay, great, and I'm sure Belgium chocolate will also help, right, for things to happen in a very positive way. And chocolate brings a lot of adrenaline, right, and positive energy to discussions. Great, so I think unfortunately we don't have time to go through any additional questions, but time to move to some final thoughts. This moves me to the very almost last slides. I want you to share with us what is something you are taking away from this session. I hope it's not an empty space, right? Lots of different opinions in a very short period of time. So if you can share with us your own contributions, collaboration, great, that makes sense. Vision for the future, not bad. So only good things, right? So it was boring, no, not yet, negative comments. Chocolate. Wow. How are you going to take away chocolate? May I share some of the takeaways you're having through chocolate? So collaboration seems to be clearly the strongest component. 7 rectors can indeed collaborate. Wow, what a big takeaway, right? I think that's critical thinking. Oh, there is someone saying that there was missed the student voice, so it's something we may want to take into consideration into the future. Next panel with students, so that a little brings the student component into discussion. There is going to be plenty of space through the Utopian Week for students to make sure their voices are heard. Lots of alliance capital, creative acting. Critical questions are not wanted. Strength networking, positive vision for the future, Green Deal. So I think the rectors can manage time. Wow, that's a big achievement, right? So why do people suspect that rectors are not good at time management? I don't know. That's a bias, right? But we've proved that that's possible. So I guess that's a very nice, compelling summary. We'll try to put everything together, right? Because we have all the data. But just for the sake of making the summaries, it's anonymous, so you don't have to worry about any concerns dealing with confidentiality issues. But overall, I think we become more optimistic after the session, right? And I didn't see many people falling asleep. I hope you had serious fun. That was a little bit what I tried to achieve. So just to wrap up, I don't know, João, do you want to have some 30 seconds message at the host? Our chair, do you want to have any 30 seconds last comment, Tiziana, as chair of EUTOPIA?
Yes, maybe again about the students, adding to what Ursula already said about our initiatives, in particular connected communities. There are other initiatives which are interdisciplinary, which are promoted by the network, which is called ENIHEI, and one of the group working on ENIHEI, it is a European network, is working on new models of living labs with students coming from different universities and different disciplines, working together with companies or institutions. So, as Ursula said, these living labs are meant to face a challenge or a specific problem of a company. So they work on something to solve, something so they have an active role in these living labs. So what we are doing is mapping all these initiatives of living labs and provide prototypes for other universities.
Okay,
so this is what I meant when I said to give the students an active role in educational programs. I don't see many students here, so we wish maybe some.
There are some.
Raise
your
your
hands. Good to have you here. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Not the majority.
So, that being said, maybe we can go back to the slides. You see, the students were the ones that used the emoji, right? I guess, because that's part of the visual language we need to learn as well. So, for myself, I hope just two key takeaways. The first one is that I believe there is hope, and we can build together a better future through universities and through alliances. I hope I got it right in terms of translating it into all the utopian languages, and I think this great set of universities is already making a difference and will make even more so in the future. The second takeaway is that it was possible to do, right? Well, 17 rectors in 2 hours, that's not something that can be done without having people sleeping in the room. So thank you so much. And that brings me to my very final slide, which is thanking all the participants. Now I'm using just Portuguese, English, and Esperanto, so I'm not repeating all the other languages, but Esperanto is a universal language. And I complete with a quote from Henry Ford, because that guy changed the world, right, in many different ways, not just building cars. And they said that coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. And I think this week is about coming, keeping, and working together. And EUTOPIA is also about coming, keeping, and working together. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for all the distinguished panel members. Thank you so much, João, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you so much to these two ladies that always help this crazy vice rector to make sure crazy things can be put into place. So thank you so much. A big round of applause and enjoy Lisbon. Thank you.